Gary Klein covers the Rams. He's the beat writer for the LA Times. Good to have Gary back. Gary, your first reaction when you first heard that Matthew Stafford was coming and Jared Goff was going?
Well, Dan, I was a little surprised only because given the way that Les Snead and Sean McVay have operated, I really thought they were going to swing for the fences and go for Deshaun Watson and really change the paradigm of things. But when it became Stafford, that seems like, a fit for Sean McVay for what he's talked about he wants to do with his offense. All the signs were there that they were going to move on from Jared Goff, so that was no surprise. But the fact that they did it so quickly did surprise me.
At what point do you think maybe Jared Goff and Sean McVay were going in different directions, and that Sean decided that he needed a new quarterback?
Dan, the earliest indication for us, out here covering them every day was after that Miami game, there was some frustration. And I don't know if it was because Jared Goff wasn't getting the ball out quick enough or because Brian Flores was out coaching Sean McVay in kind of a repeat of the Super Bowl. But once we got later in the season to the San Francisco 49ers loss, where Goff had several turnovers, McVay broke from practice. He is always the guy falling on the sword for his players. It's my fault. I didn't put him in the right. But after that game, he said, our quarterback's got to take better care of the football. Yeah. And that, as much of anything else, signaled that things were not going well. And after the loss to the Jets, obviously got to the end of the season with the broken thumb. And when McVay essentially benched Goff for the playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks, it was obvious there were some things there were some issues that probably couldn't be repaired.
NFL.com's Michael Silver published a column yesterday, and it was full of information about Goff's perspective. In the story, Silver pointed out that Troy Aikman routinely trashed Goff when he and Joe Buck were assigned to call Rams games. He gave a couple of instances here where Troy criticized him on an interception. He also, pregame of the Super Bowl, said, Bill Belichick wants the game in Jared Goff's hands. Was there any manipulation going on behind the scenes, do you think, with Sean McVay sort of getting a message out through another channel?
Well, I have to be honest, Dan, you've been in those kinds of production meetings, so I think you probably have more intimate knowledge of what coaches are willing to disclose. So I can't say that I ever got a hint that Sean McVay was trying to undermine his quarterback. I think, at least publicly, and what we see every day as the people that cover them on a beat, there weren't hints of that. There was nothing outward like Jared Goff isn't a hard worker. He's not putting in the time. That's why I think that statement from McVay after the San Francisco loss to come out publicly and say that was so compelling for people who watch him every day.
Are the Rams closer to a Super Bowl today than they were last Friday?
Well, I think Matt Stafford, obviously, with his resume in terms of his arm strength and his stats, I think there's some excitement that perhaps he could put them over the hump. But Dan, they have a lot more issues than quarterback. Don't have a deep threat receiver. Their running game looks like it could be coming on with Cam Akers, but that's no guarantee. And frankly, the Rams' success this season was built on their defense. And that defense, with Brandon Staley becoming the coach of the Chargers, several assistants leaving, they're probably going to lose some key free agents. There's no guarantee that Raheem Morris is going to be able to come in and maintain that defense at the level it was at. So I think the Rams have a lot of issues. This creates excitement for them. They're hosting the Super Bowl, next season, so it sets them up for a possible run there. But really, I think the bar now for Matt Stafford and Sean McVay really is you've got to win the Super Bowl because Jared Goff got you there and you couldn't do it. Now you've dumped his contract. You've given away more first-round draft picks, and you got to win the whole thing.
Gary, good to visit with you, and I'm glad you got something to write about here for the next couple of days. Thank you, bud.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, that's Gary Klein. He covers the Rams for the LA Times.